You're the last sin eater the city still calls, in a century that swears it stopped believing in sin. The rule is old and it never changed. Before a body goes into the ground, someone has to sit alone with it overnight, eat the bread and drink the wine set on its chest, and take on every sin the dead one carried. The family buries a clean name instead of a rotten one. The dead rest easy. Everyone else gets to keep pretending. That someone is you. You learned the trade the way you learn any trade nobody wants, from an old man who was tired of carrying it. He met you at 19, broke and hungry, and told you the truth before he told you anything else. This isn't charity work, he said. This is the only job in the city where the client has to confess before you'll even sit down. You don't do it for the dead. You do it for what the living will pay to make the dead stop talking. You took the bread that same night. A merchant's wife, found at the bottom of her own stairs, and a son who needed her sins to die with her before the inheritance lawyers arrived. You sat by the coffin until dawn, ate what was left on her chest, and felt nothing you could name. No weight, no voice in your skull. Just a strange, total silence, like a room after a door finally shuts. You didn't feel the sin. You felt the price of it. Because here's what the old man never had to explain twice. To eat someone's sins, you have to be told them first. Every family that hires you sits you down before the burial and tells you exactly what they need buried with the body. Not out of grief, out of fear. They think confession to a sin eater doesn't count as confession to God, so they tell you everything, the way people only tell a stranger they'll never see twice. Except you're not a stranger. You're the same stranger, every time, and you remember. Within a year, you knew which councilman's father died owing money to men who don't send letters. You knew which shipping family's matriarch had a first husband nobody mentions, buried under a different name in a different parish. You knew exactly which of the city's oldest fortunes started with a drowning that was never investigated, because the sin eater at the time took the secret to his own grave along with a very generous fee. You are not that sin eater. You write things down. Nothing dramatic. No ledger with names in red ink. Just a small, locked box. And inside it, in your own private shorthand, an inventory of everything the city has ever paid you to forget. Every family that thought silence could be purchased once and would never come due again. They were wrong about that. Silence isn't a purchase, it's a lease. The first time you let a family know their lease was up, you didn't ask for money. You asked for a seat on a hospital board that had rejected every application you'd ever filed on your own merit. Back when you still believed merit was how anything worked in this city. The family made a call. The seat opened within a week. Nobody used the word blackmail. Nobody needed to. You simply reminded them, gently, that the man who ate their mother's sins remembers what he ate. After that, it stopped feeling like a threat and started feeling like a service. You weren't extorting the powerful. You were the only appointment they could book, where telling the truth cost them nothing but a loaf of bread and a bottle of wine, and where the silence afterward was guaranteed by a man with more to lose than they did if word ever got out that a sin eater talks. Because that's the part they never think through. If it's known that you talk, no one will ever hire you again, and every secret you're currently holding becomes worthless. Your silence isn't loyalty, it's inventory management. You have every reason in the world to keep their secrets exactly as safe as they think they are. Right up until you don't need to anymore. The funerals kept coming. Bankers, a bishop's brother, a judge's second wife, who died of something the family insisted was her heart, and whose sins, once you sat with them overnight, turned out to include a very specific list of verdicts her husband had been paid to hand down over 11 years on the bench. You ate her bread. You wrote down the list. You said nothing to anyone, because saying nothing is the entire job, and because a judge who owes you his career is worth infinitely more silent and grateful than exposed and desperate. You started to understand something the old man tried to tell you, and you were too young to hear. This city doesn't run on money at the top. It runs on secrets, and every single one of them eventually crosses your table, wrapped in bread, because the alternative is bearing a stranger's guilt for free and hoping God is more forgiving than the people who'll read the will. You are not a priest. You don't forgive anyone. You just remember everything the priests were never told. And everyone assumes a sin eater is too poor, too invisible, too beneath their world to ever use it. They keep being wrong about that too. Then came the mayor's father. A quiet death, officially. A quiet man, officially. The mayor himself sat across from you the night before the burial and told you, in a voice that shook exactly once, that his father had spent 30 years running money for men who build things that later collapse with people still inside them. Bridges, a school, an apartment block that came down in 11 seconds and took 41 families with it, ruled an accident by an investigation the father himself had quietly funded. The mayor needed that dead. Not remembered. Dead in the specific way only a sin eater can make something dead. Eaten, absorbed, guaranteed silent by a man who has never once broken 30 years of silence for anyone. You ate the bread. You drank the wine. You sat with the old man's body until the light came up gray through the chapel window, and somewhere in that silence, you finally understood exactly what you'd built without ever meaning to. Not a trade, not a service, an archive of every unpunished thing this city has ever done to itself, filed under your own name, in your own hand, in a box only you can open. The mayor thinks his father's sin died with the bread you ate that night. It didn't. It's sitting in your box, next to the judge, next to the shipping family, next to 41 families who were told it was an accident. You haven't decided what you're going to do with any of it yet. You've never needed to before. The lease has always been enough. A board seat here, a favor there, a debt quietly forgiven, the small currency of a man everyone needs and nobody wants to be seen needing. But an apartment block came down in 11 seconds. 41 families believed a lie you're the only living person who can prove is a lie. Tonight there's a new coffin waiting and a new family sitting across the table, about to tell you exactly what they need you to swallow. You pick up the bread. The question was never whether you'd keep their secret. It's how long you're planning to.